Thank you for coming back, as Reggie does, like maintenance on his house.
Well,
Speaking of,
I was trying to block the sun with the thing, but it keeps coming down. So yeah.
yeah. With all of that said, people who are listening, they have no idea what we're talking about, but don't worry about it or go to YouTube. But if you do go to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe still and download the podcast the conventional way. Give us both the numbers. We don't care. But that's Reggie. Say hi, Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
Once again, like we always say, this is your Susu moment. Go tell 50 friends to tell 50 friends. And then we'll have our Susu going. And that'll be great. That'll be great for us. All right, check this out. Check this out. We are going to have a conversation today about something serious. And whereas
Cheating wasn't serious.
I know I say that as if like all of them aren't serious, including the one about cheating. It's like, yeah. Even though it's like we find a way to laugh at some of these things, and it's like they're not laughable things to laugh about, but I guess it just speaks to how
Perverted we are.
yeah, how sadistic we are. And for people that listen for people that listen to the Greener Grass episode, and for people who watch it on YouTube and you know listen to the after hours or the extra, the DWA extra part, I sincerely apologize. I kind of went off on a little thing.
Just a
um
tad.
yeah, I have nothing against people's feet, and
Bullshit. Yeah, you
we
do.
we 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 all have them.
You
And
just don't do one of those apologies. No, he does have something against speed, and yeah,
I apologize.
he shouldn't have done that on the podcast, but it was funny as hell.
Reggie started that, man. Reggie, that's Reggie's fault. I mean, yeah, that's Reggie's fault. But what we want to talk to today, and it ties into the Greener Grass episode, and it ties into the cheating episode. And actually, if you really break it down, it ties into most of the things that we talked about on this podcast when it comes to dating. Not specifically the reasons why someone might be with some, well, actually, yeah, the
Yeah,
reason why
yeah.
someone might be with
He was
someone,
someone.
and it's all about the power of loneliness and the role that that plays in all of our decision making, specifically in this in
Oh
this
wait,
area.
did you do the whole intro thing?
Yeah, you don't remember saying hi?
No, but
You
okay.
did. You
No, I
did.
thought about the whole intro thing. Period. But okay. I heard a
Oh,
Susu moment, but you know.
yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. All I usually do is just repeat what's on the intro, what's on the recorded intro. So, but yeah, now I feel like I should do more. Download the podcast everywhere you find podcasts. Also, you can watch us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram now at Dating While Adulting. You can find us on Twitter at Adulting While. You can email us. I used to give out our individual emails, but hey, just email podcast at datingwhileadulting.com and we
Please
will
do.
check it and we will respond. We want to thank everyone who has been commenting. We have gotten a few comments on YouTube. We have gotten one on the post on datingwhileadulting.com.
Oh,
So
go tell me one. Tell me one.
it was a God episode, and she talked about how she agreed with the importance of being open-minded and not expecting everyone to walk the same path. As long as they're walking a path that leads to righteousness, you're on the right
Bravo.
path. Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah. So that is the gist of what she said. So shout out to her. But yeah, so now getting back to what we were talking about, we're talking about loneliness and the power of it and how much it plays a part in all of our decision making. We alluded to it on the cheating podcast episode where we talked about people choosing to stay versus people choosing to leave. And I am a strong believer that the vast majority, if not all, of relationships that aren't ideal, that people stay in despite there not being as happy as they feel like they would be. I think a part of that is attributable to loneliness. Now, we can debate like how big of a part it plays, but to say that it doesn't exist, I would just find that
That's
hard to
very
believe.
disingenuous. Yes. The two biggest factors to pick it back off that will be loneliness and fear.
Yeah.
Those are
And
those are the twin superpowers right there.
right. Or just fear of being lonely.
Well, yeah, just combine it in one big Voltron.
Yeah. Yeah. because that's the whole thing when people are assessing what the deal is in relationships and the grass being greener on the other side. Is goes into like people who believe in the Bible and Christianity. They talk about faith being the evidence of things not seen. And so when you don't know,
What you don't know.
yeah, when you put your foot out there, what you're stepping on, it can lead it can lead to a person being fearful that there might not be anything that will be there to step on that will catch them. And so that is one component, like Reggie said. And then the other part of it is, and the way fear ties into it is because if you're so deathly afraid of being by yourself or not having anyone in your life, or that you'll, even if you're in a bad situation, you see being alone as being the worst thing, m- even worse than being in a bad situation,
Yeah.
as bad as it is. Yeah, that's a problem. And it clouds all of our decisions, including like when we went back to the cheating episode, it was like Cardi B saying, "What do you expect me to do? You know, just go out there and be by myself." You know, like that's the worst thing in the world. And
So let's before we get too deep in this, we have to come to terms on on our definition of what is loneliness.
okay, you want me to go, or you want to
Go,
go?
you go.
Basically, I feel like there are people that need to have people around. They need somebody to validate them. They need somebody to make them feel
Important.
entertained,
Good.
important,
Important.
whatever it is. And I believe that part of that is based on the fact that you really haven't reconciled who you are and how to be content by yourself.
I agree with
If,
that.
and if you hadn't figured that out, yeah,
You're
then
still looking for out external validations, and this which also leads to the whole grass is greener part of this whole thing. This is why loneliness is, if not the biggest outside of finances, one of the biggest issues why would people get into relationships and possibly leave relationships. Um, Loneliness to me is that lack of connection, that lack of understanding that sometimes I crave because I do need the validation, I'm using your words, of another person. However, comma, with me, those bouts are few because for the most part, Reggie loves himself some Reggie. And you know, but sometimes you just like, oh, I just need someone to talk to, or I need someone to touch, and blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily basing my whole relationship on just that one part. And you know, just to fast forward this just a little bit, this is me and Michael have been having this discussion for a long time because I never understood why people will stay in a situation that is not optimal for their quote unquote happiness because they're lonely. Because I don't understand. That's not why. I mean, you know, you want to share the experience with someone, you want someone to share your joy and all that good stuff. But if you're not getting that in your relationship, and the only thing they're there for is either going to be your cheerleader every once in a while, or you just don't want, you can't stand the fact of just being by yourself. Why are you, go back to what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks? Why are you in a relationship? What's your purpose in being in a relationship?
well, um, I think the purpose in being in a relationship can be sincere. I just think that their purpose in staying, despite not necessarily being happy in that relationship, I think that's when you have to question why they stay more so than why they made the choice to be in a relationship in the first place.
No, because at the bottom line, there's a lot of people who get in a relationship because they don't want to be lonely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they stay because they don't want them. So if you're making that decision on being in a relationship because you of the fear of being alone or being lonely, you're already coming in a handicap because you're not really observing who you're quote unquote forming connections with. And you may never form that connection with that person because that's not the right person you need to be forming connection. And you're too blind of not, well, yeah, they blow sunshine on my ass, they show me attention and stuff like that. But at the same time, when it gets to the core of who you are and that those vibrations, that's not the right person. And you know it's not the right person. But you're not going to stop it because you're getting all these other external bullshits, the other 80% that is fluff versus the dense 20% that you actually need to stay solidified in that relationship.
To go back to the podcast about cheating that I alluded to a little bit earlier, I believe I said in that episode, I talked about when I cheated and the reasons that I did cheat. And part of it had to do with the fear of being lonely, and talking about the effect that that played in that. I think what's interesting about it is a lot of people, especially men, but even women, I don't hear anybody ever cop to being lonely. I don't hear anybody ever use being lonely as an excuse, even though it's so blatantly obvious in some of the choices that we all make in relationships that you can only point to it as loneliness. And again, any bad relationship that I see where someone is staying in it when they feel like they should leave, whether they admit it or not, there has to be a component of loneliness to it. And but nobody will admit it because it's like admitting that you're lonely is like saying that you're a leper or something like that. That's the
You
way
wait.
people
Yeah.
perceive it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People,
yeah.
you think that people perceive you as weak, but at the same time, you have some people who, uh, the flip side of that is they stay and also stay in a relationship because they don't want to be seen as a loser because they have nobody.
Yeah.
You go and eat dinner by yourself in the movies by yourself, and you think that people, oh my God, he's such a loser. He doesn't have anybody, and blah, blah, blah. And this is why, like I said, this is where I go off on the to the left, my other left, because I I'm not saying I've never made decisions for when I was in that lonely state. I just never made long-term decisions when I was in that lonely state. And the people that I just don't seem to understand are the ones who make long-term decisions from that lonely state, that state of fear, that state of because if you're making relationship, trying to be in a relationship and your core is based in fear, don't want, you shouldn't wonder why it's going the way it's going.
It's funny you talk about like the fear of being like labeled as a loser by other people and stuff like that. It reminds me of a movie, and I'm sorry for bringing up making a movie reference because we all know that Reggie doesn't see movies. He hasn't seen movies since Uptown
Uptown
Saturday
Saturday
Night.
night.
But for anybody else that might be watching, there is a movie. It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's called Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And it is about a guy whose girlfriend got famous and then she wound up breaking up with him and wound up dating someone else. To someone else happened to be Russell Brand. And
The
so,
grass is greener.
yeah, yeah. And she found out that it wasn't greener because she wound up coming trying to get
Mm,
him back. But
mm.
that's neither here nor there. But it's funny when you talked about people being labeled a loser because he went to Hawaii by himself, and everywhere he would go, it'd be like table for two, and he'd be like, no, just one, and they just look at him like he was like a poor puppy dog.
Oh, poor baby. Yeah.
And it's funny to me because a lot of women that I meet, they don't do things. And yeah, this is a woman thing. They
This,
don't do
this is a woman
things
thing.
by themselves. There are a lot of women who do now. But man, it seems like a lot of women don't do things because if they don't have anybody to do it with, they just won't do it at all. And that's why I respect those women who are just like, shoot, forget this. I'm not waiting. I'm going by myself.
Yeah, but that also feeds into my hypothesis on the fact that because of that fear, they hook up with someone that they probably under normal circumstances, if they did not have that fear, would not hook up because I want to go to dinner. Okay. He likes me enough. So you're gonna be my boyfriend now because I don't want to go out to dinner and do these things by myself. Versus the fact that no, I want you to be my boyfriend because I actually like you. I actually like you.
Yeah, but because of people's like unwillingness to even admit to loneliness or any kind of weakness, and for that matter, because we can say it might make them look weak, but it is weakness to some extent. And I can speak to that because shoot, as a single person who's been single for as long as I have been, I think it would just be like just fake and just lying to say that I've never gone through bouts of loneliness myself.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we talked about this coming back one time. Forgot where we're coming. We're in South Carolina though, and I misspoke when I said this. I don't get lonely. When I did, well, I didn't misspeak. I didn't extend the circumstances because I don't have long bouts of it. I do have them, and usually when I make those long bouts, that's when I'm on the hunt. But I mean, when I have those bouts, I'm usually on the hunt then. But as for forming long-term relationships with people based off of that fact that, well, I don't want to be alone and she likes me enough, and I don't mind having sex with her every once in a while, so okay, you want to be my girlfriend? And people do that all the time. People do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's, I just don't understand that concept. It's like, but you don't even, why are you getting a relationship? Just that's your criteria. And then you start bitching, and either you cry about it or you cheat about it, and you're not taking the responsibility for the fact that you made a fucked up decision in the first place. Oh,
I'm
you
gonna
get me hot now.
I'm gonna tell a quick story and then I'm gonna come back to that because that's an interesting point. I remember one of the most lonely times in recent memory that I had was I flew to the West Coast and I spent some time in Seattle. And I was driving from Seattle to Vancouver, British Columbia, over in Canada. And it was my birthday when I was coming back. And I was like driving. I just crossed the border back into the States and stuff. It was my birthday. And I was like looking at the mountains and I was just like, man, this is whack. I'm doing this by myself. And then, strangely, for people who've made that drive, when you cross the border, the only restaurant that you'll pass is a Denny's. It's just like it's like a Denny's just sitting there in the middle of just like nowhere. So I went to the Denny's, and I don't know if they still do it, but back then Denny's would give you like free breakfast on your birthday.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, shoot, I can get some free food out of this. Shoot, I'm taking this.
Forget this loading bullshit.
Well, it was like I was driving straight from Vancouver to the Seattle airport so I can come home. And I went and ate, and they were wishing me happy birthday and stuff. And I was driving back through the mountains and all the water. Anybody who's made that drive, it's just beautiful to look at. You don't find too many places with mountains and water. But it's like in the whole drive, and then when I was it was nighttime, but when I was going to the airport and stuff, and I was driving through Seattle and stuff, and everything was lit up, and Adele was playing on the radio, and I was like, "This is so fucking sad."
Oh God, you
Yeah.
did that to yourself. I understand it, but you
Well,
did that to yourself.
no, it wasn't like it was planned or
I
something.
know, no,
Shoot,
no, you plan everything, Mister. I'm the planner. You did that shit on purpose.
I
You
like
tried,
Adele.
you tried to be a martyr.
I like Adele. It's not my fault. But to your point, about like getting in a relationship to combat loneliness and all of that stuff, um, I am amazed, and this is what makes me mad about some women because women will like always talk about how I have to like answer for the sins of the past 5 or 6 dudes that they dated. And part of the reason that I have to answer for those dudes is because those 5 or 6 dudes are dudes that they dated out of loneliness. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot tell me that loneliness does not play a factor to Reggie's point. If you are dating a dude that is living in your house, driving your car, you giving him money, you raising his kids and all of that stuff. You're not holding that dude down. No, you you are lonely,
Not
and
unless.
because of which it is making you do those things that if your homegirl were doing it for that trifling dude,
Mm-hmm. You
you
will
would be
speak about it.
cursing her out
You will speak.
yeah,
You
every
will be
single
speaking
day.
about it. Yep, and you know you will, and
Yep,
you know you will.
yep.
And like I said, that's the thing about it. The only time I will give women credit for doing what you say, holding the guy down, if you're doing all that, but every time you see him, he gives you the warm and fuzzies. Okay, that's that. I still think it's a train wreck, but at least I can understand it. But if there's no warm and fuzzies there, no butterflies, and you just doing it, and it's the feeling just Uh, man, come on. Why you don't waste my time.
See, I think those butterflies and warm and fuzzies can be manufactured out of loneliness too, because ultimately loneliness makes you feel a way about somebody that you shouldn't be feeling toward them. So I can see
Yeah,
you.
but you don't get butterflies. No, 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 no. No, no. I agree with you up to that point, but you ain't getting no butterflies. You're not getting butterflies when he kiss you.
I
No, no,
don't
no,
know.
dude, no, no, no. You're not getting no because if that chemistry, going back to the thing, this is probably why you believe this. If that chemistry ain't there, you ain't getting no damn butterflies, homie.
Okay,
I don't care how much. You don't care. No, it's not happening. You ain't get an attachment.
this
you
is
you you were growing, you would get an attachment to them because it becomes familiar and you follow this nice groove. But you ain't getting that rumble in your heart and your soul, like, ooh, whenever he touched you or you touch her or whatever. You're not getting that.
See, this is the time, and there are these few times where I feel like we need a woman to respond to that because me, I've never sponsored a woman like that. So I really can't speak to that directly. But I would imagine well, I disagree with that, but I don't really have I have as much evidence as you have to disagree. It just seems like the way that these women like, it seems like you can convince yourself in your mind to love someone despite the fact that you should love. I think
I
loneliness is like a
no,
drug.
I get no. I agree with that.
But
Cold hearted. I'm talking about that first spark. I'm talking about the fact that you're not going to convince yourself when someone just comes, and your man comes and just brush against you, and you go, oh.
I don't
I
get why
mean,
you don't.
even after, like I said, even after the 6 month phase of the oxycontin draining, and you're not gonna get that because you convince yourself that yes, I'm gonna love him. Yes,
I
I'm
don't.
gonna love him.
Well,
Women do it all the time, though. They try to.
well, I
They
don't
try
know.
to.
Well, no,
Well, not women.
no,
People do it all the
no.
time. Why?
Here's what I believe. Even like if a dude just walks up to you, if a homeless dude walks up to you and says, "Yo, I need a place to stay," you're not gonna be like, "Yeah, come on, because I need a man." There is something that attracts you to that person, whether it's male, female, whatever, because dudes be tricking for women too. So there is something. It could
True.
just be physical,
True. I agree
and
with that. Yeah.
and and if the physical by itself is enough to make you feel a certain way when they brush up against you, then it doesn't stop just because they
See,
see money.
see, no, no, no. See, like I said, we're going to the chemistry thing again, and I'm gonna get too deep in the weeds on that with you because you're just gonna shut it down. But
Yeah, I will.
there, there, I've been in situations where there is a chemistry, and I just look at her, and you got this electricity and this thing, and I kiss him, and oh my god! And even I, like I said, I'm channeling my inner feminine here. So women, help me out in the comment section. And there's some things where you have all the boxes there, and it's just not there. There's nothing there. But you sit there and you convince yourself, okay, but you're a nice girl. And you get a sense of a calm attachment to it. And that attachment, that commitment, that attachment grows, but not that whole you look across the room and you see her and she just walking across the thing, bringing your bourbon or you bring whatever, and you're like, yeah. And that never goes away. That never goes away.
Let's see. First of all, I think it does go away because I don't believe in that chemistry shit. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I just don't believe that. Flip it. If a guy is spending $500 a week on a woman's hair and nails and stuff like that, and she's sucking him dry in terms of the money that she's leeching from him, but he doesn't want to let her go. I believe that he can still have a feeling of passion or lust or whatever. I
No,
don't think that disappears
no, I'm not saying that.
because the chick is juicing them, or the
It's
dude might be
no, it's
juicing the
beyond
woman.
the passion. It's beyond the passion, the lust, and the desire. That's totally different. Passion, lust, desire is not that chemistry I'm talking about. It's not that just that connection. You two on that vibe, that whole spiritual stuff that I'm getting to now. That's a totally different thing. It has nothing really to do with the physical as it stands like that. Hell, like I said, there were a lot of women in my past that I had this whole lust for, but there was no chemistry, and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Okay, if you meet a woman and you meet her, you're attracted to her, you all start talking, and this is the
Mhm.
way I hear that it usually goes for women and men. So women to meet a man, it's like a dude doesn't walk up to her and says, "Hey, my name is Michael. I need my
I'm,
rent paid."
I'm an Aquarius.
Right.
That's a Virgo.
Oh, if it's a Virgo, they definitely well, nah. I know some Virgos that are
Mm,
trifling.
mm.
But with that said, it's like a guy isn't going to introduce himself like that. He's usually going to like spend what little money he has trying to wine and dine her, working her to the point where he can eventually get into her place. So during that time where she might think he's legit, now she's still operating off of loneliness in the same way a man will still be operating off of loneliness because it's been a long time. So she might not vet him in the way that she should vet him, or the man should vet the woman. So that's where the loneliness comes in. She doesn't do her due
Yes,
diligence.
yes.
But to
Okay,
say
we
that
agree on
she,
that.
yeah,
The
but to say
petting.
that she would never feel anything for him.
I'm not saying I didn't say never.
Okay,
She is going to feel something for him. She's going to feel a lot for him. Particularly the more sex you include, you're going to form that pair bond. You're going to. I'm just saying that initial I want you, and I don't know why I want you, and it's not a lust thing. It's just I just want you in my sphere.
so you're
And
saying
like I said, you never had that, so you can't, you don't know, and it's very rare. These are the things that sometimes where back in the olden days where people, and it's like it's very rare for people to experience this, but you get those old timers who say, I walked in the room and I looked them across the eye and I just knew I was gonna marry them. You didn't even talk to them yet.
oh
And
boy.
it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy as hell. It's kind of sound irrational as hell. But hell, it worked for them. They did something. And but like I said, it's
Oh
very
boy.
rare.
It doesn't sound crazy.
It does sound crazy. That sounds crazy as hell.
What sounds crazy is people like you like trying to say that they saw each other and felt something. No, I said back then and I'll continue to say they saw somebody they were attracted to and said, "I'm going to marry that person. She is beautiful." It's not like they're not looking across the room and seeing like someone that they see as unattractive and saying, "I'm going to marry that person." I've never heard that before. Like, boy, she was hideous, but I just knew I was gonna marry her.
But see, like I said, you said everything, you're basing everything off of the tangible corporal sphere here. And I'm not talking about anything about that. I'm not saying that doesn't play a factor. But what I'm saying is there's a difference between two women that you find both of them attractive. One of them you just like, even before you talk, like there's this thing. Versus the other one, like, yeah, I want to fuck you. But that's pretty much it.
See,
And that ching that you may have with that other person, you know, you can't really explain. And this has nothing to do with the fact, yeah, I'm seeing doing the Rolodex and checking. Oh, you got a job at Macy's and all that bullshit. No, you just got that. The minute you say hi and you lock eyes, like ching, like, oh, okay. It has nothing to do with that. I'm trying to smash. It has nothing to do with that.
no, not smashing, because again, I said that using that thing, it's like you say, yeah, I'm gonna marry her. Because I know people that have said, yeah, I met her and I knew I was gonna marry her from the first time I met her. But what led them to even like get to that point was that she looked good. Is again, never, ever, ever in this scenario has someone said that about somebody that they weren't attracted to physically.
I understand you keep going back to anyway. We all a little off track about the whole loneliness thing
Yeah,
because it's like there's too many episodes. I've been in a couple of episodes myself where women were trying to really get at me, and you just see the desperation and the loneliness in their face. It's like, but you want to go down this whole path and you have no idea who I am. You don't even know my middle name, but you already talk about having babies and shit.
well, well, how is that different though from the person that you say that they see them across the person? They don't know their first name, but you saying it in the olden days, they said they were gonna marry them and they don't know their first name.
Because of the chemistry part, and the chemistry part is both ways. I keep saying this was the thing. You're not going to accept that, so that's fine. But the people who do accept this and understand this and taking it out of the lust physical aspect, okay, they get it. But that whole the loneliness because I just want to not be alone thing, quote unquote, uh drives, like you said, a lot of the decisions that they made because you don't necessarily vet that person. You just like, I have to be with someone and they seem nice enough. Bottom line, I'm attracted to them in some form. I don't know what it is. I'm attracted to them in some form. I We approach each other. they seem nice enough, regardless of some of the red flags I may have, and I don't want to be alone anymore. So I want someone to go across the Vancouver, the pathway, and hear Adele and shit.
When you when you find somebody and bring them to me that says that they locked eyes with somebody that walked into a room that they never met, and you keep saying it's not about physical attraction, but when they say, yeah, I wasn't attracted to him, but I knew I was going to marry them,
I'm not
then I
saying
will
that.
believe
You put
somewhat of
it,
what you're
no,
saying.
you keep trying to twist this for the
It's not twisting.
50,000th time. Yes, you are, for the 50,000th time. I'm not saying attraction does not play a part. You're trying to make it the biggest weight, and then everything else. Once you throw that big weight of attraction over, everything else is following. I'm saying the attraction is the one that's going to get you there, but it doesn't keep you there in
Right.
those initial things. It's something go ching when you say, "Oh shit, that's who you are," and you
Right.
may not even talk about it. You
It's
may
not
not
going
even
to.
say anything yet. You may
Right.
just say, "Yeah, hi, how you doing?"
Right.
My name is
It,
Reggie.
right. It's not going to keep you there, but the way that you can point to people that have said, yeah, I'm going to marry her, boy, I bet that there have been more people who said, I'm going to marry her, and it didn't work out because they were only basing that on what they saw. And
True, but
people
that's
told
nothing to
them
do with
no.
chemistry.
Right. None of
But
it. Anyway,
either
so
way,
here's my point in all,
go back to
all
the loneliness, because
when,
that's the
yeah,
thing.
that's what I'm going back to because that's
You just but this is the guy who believes in astrology.
but But going back to the whole thing about loneliness, and this is ultimately what I dispute about what you're saying. When you talk about nobody gets that fuzzy thing from somebody who they're with for the wrong reason. I think that loneliness heightens those things. I think loneliness will give you more of a fuzzy feeling faster because the loneliness is the thing that spurs that feeling or whatever. So you
Yeah,
so hearing a woman or a man profess love, and it's especially bad when a man does it. But man, yeah, it's funny because we laugh at guys that do it, but we don't laugh at women that do it. But it's sad,
I do, because what you said is total bullshit. Because I don't believe that whatsoever.
dude.
When you, and like I said, we need a woman on here who's actually gonna be honest about that whole lonely shit, because they're not getting warm and fuzzy feelings after the fact just because of they base their whole shit on lonely. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit I heard in my life.
And basically, you say a
You
woman
go
that's
sit there and say, in other words, you sitting there saying you can fuck yourself for actually having passion.
and basically what you're saying is get a woman that's actually going to be honest, which basically means to you is somebody that's going to agree with you. Because
No, it's because
if a
yes, you're
woman
gonna
is on
agree with
here
me
and
because I'm
truly,
right.
if a woman is going to be on here and truly be honest, she's going to say the same way a dude that comes on here and is professing his love for a woman that he just saw across a room.
He
He's
was
going
she's lonely, so she or he's going lonely. But so I'm gonna sit there and try to fuck myself into really having that passion.
and
Yeah,
see
that's gonna
who
work.
said anything about fucking. It's like
Mhm.
shoot, whether you're having sex or not, it's like if you're desperate to have someone in your life, you will manufacture feelings um that will go along with that to
Actually, I'm
further
glad.
convince you that you're
Actually,
in love with
I'm
someone.
actually glad you. That's the verb I was looking for.
What?
Manufacture versus organically already there.
uh but that's the whole thing.
If
If
you
you're in that
manufacture,
boat, you don't.
if you manufacture it, that means it's not there. You trying to build it. If it's organic, it just happens. It's already there.
But that's the thing. That lonely person, they think it's organic because, again, I go back to it like this. When a man steps into a woman's life, he doesn't tell her, look, I'm going to need money from you in 6 months. So that time that they spend in those 6 months before he shows, he might show little pieces of his triflingness along the way, but
Why
he
you gotta
hadn't
be
gone
trifling?
full blown trifling just yet.
But see, my thing is this, and this is the difference between loneliness and what you're talking about. Because let's say that you had to experiment with this chick or this guy, and they date one that they was based off loneliness, and they had a relationship for whatever long, and then they had one where they based off what I'm talking about, and you talk to them 5 or 6 years later, and so where's your love life and blah blah blah. More than likely, over the average, the person that they're going to remember will be the one they had that spark. I'm keep trying to tell you, not the lonely person. Even if the lonely person one was the longer relationship,
So you
I,
mean
I will bet I will bet my Obama house on it.
So you mean to tell me that a person who's lonely can't like experience real love? They can't experience genuine feeling for someone?
No, I didn't say genuine feeling. Don't be trying to twist the relationship. Don't
I
be trying
asked
to twist the definition
I
because
asked the
it's two different.
question.
They're two different things. Real love is how you want to define it. If I'm defining it, no, you can't. Now, if you define real love, the fact that you just have these attachments and stuff like that, that's fine. Yeah, that's you. But genuine feelings, yeah, you can have genuine feelings. Hell, I have genuine feelings for a lot of people I'm not trying to have a long-term relationship with.
No, but going back to what you said, not even love, you talked about like when somebody walks by you and brushes against you and you feel butterflies. You're saying a lonely person can't experience that for real?
Not with the person they just basing their relationship on loneliness on. No,
But see,
no, because they're in a desperate frame of mind. No, because
a desperate frame of mind doesn't
means
mean
they would take
no,
anybody
it
because
doesn't
they're
mean
just trying to fill that
right,
void.
right, right. I'm not saying that they won't take anybody. I agree with that part, but I'm saying that they can have legitimate feelings for that anybody in a way that somebody who's more who's less lonely, who someone
And
who's
and
less
I'm
fearful,
saying
whatever.
I'm not disagreeing with the legitimate feelings. I'm talking about point blank the fact that they will not have the same feelings if they were not lonely and that person came by and brushed them and they get the hoo hoo.
I feel
There's
like
no manufacturing with that
and
because
see,
because they're not desperate and they're not looking for anything. When you're lonely and desperate, you will look. I mean, that's gonna be a special quote unquote. That's gonna be a special person that affects your life versus the thing that okay, I'm lonely and I take almost any goddamn thing that look at me that finds me attractive and makes me feel important.
but okay, okay. So a person that won't take anybody, a person who is a little bit more uh,
Centered, grounded,
not no, that's not what
not
I'm talking about.
lonely.
Just just more particular in who they would choose to say that just because they took more time to find someone, that might that might mean that their relationship might have more of a long-term um prognosis. I could get what you're saying that. But to say that they can't feel the same things because one didn't have as strong a criteria, because you can flip that and say that woman who is more particular and doesn't need that and is more centered, she could be too picky. And therefore, she could overshoot what she's looking for and turn down decent people that would fall in her wheelhouse that she's not given a chance.
Yeah,
So
but
the
I,
one
but
person who's
but
giving too many people a chance versus the one who's not giving enough people a chance. And to me, my whole thing is if they feel something, I think what they're both feeling is legitimate. The only difference to me is that the lonely person who will take anybody, that relationship has a less chance of surviving.
yeah, and we're talking about feelings.
Yeah.
I'm talking about different feelings. I mean, as you said,
Right.
one manufactured because they would desperately take anything that gives them any warm and
No.
fuzzy, quote unquote, versus the one that's grounded, and that warm and fuzzy is actually a genuine spark, is a genuine, authentic. Oh, okay, yeah,
See,
I get it.
you're misinterpreting how I use the word manufacture. What I said is the same. Everybody wants love. Everybody
I don't want love. Forget all that. Give me
yeah.
my money.
Oh boy. Reggie being Reggie. Um, everybody wants love. Now, the reasons that they want love are different, but the bottom line to me is that they all want it in the last 5 minutes that we have. They all want it. So when I talk about manufacturing something, a person that is lonely because they won't admit to being lonely, the loneliness is what will power them in their feelings. Now, with that said, if a person isn't lonely and she wants love, but for a different reason, just because she wants a partner, she wants a best friend, or whatever the reason might be, that is powering her feelings in love. So there is a win behind the sales of everybody that wants love. It's
I don't
just that
disagree with that.
you're right. And so to say that it's manufactured when a lonely person does, it's manufactured. The reason is what manufactures it in every case. It's just in that case, it's lonely. So I believe that that lonely person feeling a certain way, those butterflies, they have more um opportunity to feel it because they're more open to it. as opposed to someone who might be bitter, for example.
They're not
It
gonna
might not
see
be.
that's no. See, there you go, twisted. You doing that Republican shit again? No, that has nothing. No, they're not gonna be bitter if they grounded and not looking for anything. The person that is lonely is desperate to find something, and they will hold on to something
Yep.
because they need that outside validation to make them feel good about themselves. And the one person that comes around that they don't think is a knuckle dragger or someone casting spells and bubble toys in trouble, they're going to latch on to and do what you're saying. They're going to necessarily manufacture. Well, I don't really feel you like that, but you have all the criteria that I need and blah, blah, blah. And I don't feel like going to the dinners by myself and the movies by myself. And you're good enough. And they're going to sit there and gin themselves into liking them. I'm gonna find all the little things I can hold on to, even though we have a whole big mountain full of shit over here. But because I'm desperate and don't want to be by myself, I'm going to manufacture these little paper clips until the Brooklyn Bridge.
You're not manufacturing anything in that way, and I don't mean to imply that somebody who might be centered is bitter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
said.
yeah. So I don't mean that, but
You are
also
bitter.
I think that a lonely person is more apt to fall in love faster. I believe that they will see things and fall and feel things faster than anyone else because of loneliness. I believe those feelings are legit. Now, they're just not sustainable, but they are legitimate and real.
Well, let me say this. What you said, I don't fundamentally disagree with. They're legitimate, but they're not valid. And
Well,
there's one thing, and there's one thing that, and there's one thing that I used to tell a friend of mine all the time. All your feelings are legitimate, all of them. What you feel is what you feel. But to be valid, you need to test those feelings against what really is reality. And when lonely people have those legitimate feelings, it's not because of what the hell they actually see. It's what they projecting they want to see because they are scared to not be alone.
I
Versus versus the other side of this, the grounded person who have legitimate feelings, they're validated because they're not looking for a reason to stay. There is already there.
I agree that lonely people do project things. There's no disagreement on that. What started this and what I pushed back on was you're saying that a person can't like get butterflies
Yeah, I still say
if
that.
loneliness is what motivated their being with the person.
No, they don't get butterflies.
Yeah,
No,
see, that's what I disagree with.
yeah, they don't get butterflies. They
Yeah,
may get all kinds of other feelings, particularly when the sex comes in, and you have, like I said, that pair bonding and oxycontin and all that other good stuff. But they don't get that 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 burning, so to speak, in the
yeah,
soul for that other person. They don't get that. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
You
and
can't manufacture that.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. And I don't think it's necessarily manufactured. You keep
It's
glomming onto that word. I think it's like legitimate. The reasoning, what motivated it is the one thing, though. But I think that people that are lonely, they are so desperate to be in love that they do fall in love quickly. And being in love does
but
mean
that's not
having those legitimate
but
feelings.
that's not freaking love, man. That's just attraction and other crap, infatuation, all kind of bullshit. That's not love. That's just freaking yeah. People throw that word out like it's like candy and shit. So no,
See,
that's
that goes back to the whole conversation that we had that you just butchered about love being a choice or not, that episode of the podcast. See, because you people,
you people. Who you talking about? You people.
it's like nowadays, I just say you people just randomly just to get people mad because I know that's always the response. You people. Uh, but people act like love is just like this like thing that's found in the sky and the clouds and stuff. Love is what you make it. Love is what you choose for it to be. You choose when you're in love. Now, the reasons for it, hey, they might not match up with the next person's reasons for it, but if you are lonely and
So
you meet somebody that society might feel like is beneath you, and I hate no, let me smooth. I hate that.
yeah, that's a
That
word.
society might not think is somebody that's compatible with you.
No, I can say it. Beneath you.
Oh boy. Reggie being Reggie. Yeah. Somebody being compatible with you, but you know, because you're so lonely that you will accept less than what you would if you were at a nice level of confidence or whatever. Um, yeah, if you were at that point, then I think that if you basically it's you lowering your expectations and that person being able to jump that bar. And because he jumps that bar that you've lowered for him, and you say, hey, he crossed that bar. I love him. For us to
Quote
say
unquote.
that, well, that's invalid because it's a fine line because we're constantly telling women, especially that, your list is too long. You need to narrow that down and stuff like that. But if you go too low, then if he crosses it, then it's not valid. And it's like, basically,
This is
lonely
one of
women,
those.
you make a choice.
This is one of those things where you actually listen to the podcast. Some people gonna come away with, and why are they arguing? And it's really on the aspects of Michael just seeing everything as a scientific experiment, which is weird coming from me. And I went over into the witchcraft shit. So, because when it comes to these things, there are things that we just don't understand and can't see and stuff like that. And I believe in those energy exchanges and those resonancies that I call chemistry that Michael doesn't, because he just thinks that everything is an attraction. It can be boiled down to zeros and ones and shit. And when it comes to lonely people, I will agree with him on this, because everything he said fundamentally I agree with. They are more open to the information that they're getting, but because they are more open to the frequencies that they may get, they would just take any frequency, versus the fact that you may have you may still be open, but there's you do the double slit experiment. Guess I'm getting all geeky and shit with physics.
Yeah,
But
no.
there's only certain particles or ways that's going through to form your rainbow on the other side, your interference pattern on the other side. But you're still open because you're grounded and you know what you're looking for. And you're not just going to take any old thing and try to build off that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. In the last minute that we have, I will say lonely women who are not
And then,
328. No, I'm talking about women. Lonely
oh,
women who aren't 328 pounds. Reach out to me. Because I will make you feel butterflies. I will take that as my personal responsibility to make you feel butterflies. But now, with that said, now you can't be 328 pounds. You have to have your own stuff. But yes, come see me.
and on my side, all the women who were lonely, who made those decisions, who actually are going to be honest with themselves, also write into write the emails or the comments and tell me if I'm full of shit.
Honest with themselves, as in they agree with him.
Yeah, whatever. You're not gonna cover this. I mean, let me know. Let me know. Am I talking outside of my neck and stuff? All that cameo. Because, you know, I think Michael's full of shit on this one.
See what we have here. What we have
It's a
here,
failure
and there we
to
go.
communicate.
What we have here is myself who openly admits to having been lonely at times. And even though I wouldn't say I've lowered my
You
standard,
lowered your standards, boy.
yeah,
No, you
yeah. But I still felt like I could have butterflies for a woman, even in spite of my loneliness.
Okay, then the 325 pound women, please contact Michael,
I think
because he just said, hey, those lonely spots,
I
you
think
may have a shot now.
I think we just went over who could contact me. The 328-pound women can contact me, and thank you all for listening. I love you. That's all I have to say to that. Anyway, dating while adult. Say goodbye, Reggie.
Goodbye, Reggie.
Yeah, goodbye.